The Lumberjack's Beard by Duncan Beatty. Big Jim Hickory was a lumberjack. He lived by the forest in a little log cabin. He had burly shoulders and a big, bristly beard. Every morning he did limbering up exercises. It's very important to limber up if you're a lumberjack. After a hearty breakfast of pancakes and maple syrup, Jim slung his trusty axe over his burly shoulder and headed into the forest. Chop, choppity chop went Jim's axe, echoing through the valley as he felled tree after tree after tree. Timber! After a long day of swinging, whacking, cleaving, and hacking, Jim headed back to the cabin. That evening, when he was just about to go to bed, he heard a peckety-peck at the door. Jim looked down and saw a very angry bird. "I had just built a new nest in the tree," shrieked the bird, "and chopped it down." Jim scratched his chin. Then he had an idea. "I suppose you can move into my beard," he said. "Very well, then," and the bird flew in. The next morning, Jim woke up earlier than usual due to the birds chirping at the crack of dawn. He did his limbering up exercises, got dressed, and ate his breakfast, with a little help from his new tenant in his beard. Jim's next job was to strip all the branches and leaves and the tree trunks and burn them in a big bonfire. After a long day of chopping, snapping, burning, crackling, Jim trudged back to his cabin for a well-earned rest. No sooner had he put away his axe than he heard a noise at the door. Scratch, scratchety, scratch. He looked down to see a very angry porcupine. "I needed those leaves and pine needles to make a cozy shelter, but you burned them. Where am I going to live now?" Jim thought, and he scratched his chin. "Well," he said, "I suppose you could move into my beard." He bent down, and the porcupine crawled in. The next morning, Jim woke even earlier and attempted to do his limbering up exercises. He looked in the mirror and scratched his chin. Yow! He got porcupine quills in his fingers. He tried to eat his breakfast, but lost his appetite when he noticed bird doo-doo on his shirt. Jim's job that day was to float all the tree trunks down the river to the lumberyard. One by one, he rolled the logs into the fast-flowing water. After a hard day of lugging, splashing, rolling, and crashing, Jim staggered back to his cabin. Thump, thumpity thump went the door. He looked down to see a very angry beaver. "I spent all day building my dam, and it got smashed to bits by those logs you just threw in the river," he snarled. Without a word, Jim picked up the beaver and put it in his beard. Between the bird chirping, the porcupine prickling, and the beaver thumping, Jim didn't get much sleep at all. He was too tired to do his limbering up exercises in the morning, and the beaver's thumping tail knocked his pancakes all over the floor. "That's it," cried Jim. "I can't take it anymore. You all have to move out today." "But where will we live?" cried the animals. As Jim scratched his chin, he had a brilliant idea. He went into the bathroom, took out a razor, and began to shave off his big, bristly beard. Then he took the hair, piled it up on the porch, and the bird, the porcupine, the beaver all moved in to their big, bristly new den. That night, Jim slept better than he had in some time. He woke up, did some particularly vigorous limbering up exercises, and put on a fresh plaid shirt. Then he made an enormous tower of pancakes and maple syrup. Jim looked out the window at the bare ground where the forest used to be. He scratched his now stubbly chin, then had another brilliant idea. Jim took his shovel and dug hole after hole after hole, and planted tree after tree after tree. Jim's beard grew back over time. The trees took quite a bit longer. But it was worth the wait. The trees are grown. The end.